Yes, baby. Okay, baby. Okay, baby. We have come here this afternoon with tears in our eyes, a heaviness in our heart, but it is soothed by precious memories. Memories of moments shared, smiles at images that warm the soul, and a love that continues despite the absence we feel so keenly. It is written that in every person there is a private shrine of memory and love, and in that sanctuary our loved ones abide. We sense their presence, caress their spirits, and enfold them in our hearts. They talk to us, they tell tales. Thus the pain of separation is soothed by memory, the hurt sustained is healed by love, and we ourselves become purified and ennobled through our sorrow. In the holiness of this hour, suffused for all of us with private and personal memories which are precious and tender, and also with sentiments of abundant and abiding love, we've come together, family and friends and community, to honor the memory and celebrate the life of our loved one, Lancia Swerdloff. Our thoughts are with her husband of 63 years, Mel, her daughters and their husbands, Elaine and Alan, and Amy and Frank, Lan's grandchildren, Ashley, Scott and Sandra, Alexa and Colin, Haley and Zach, and Danny and Zach, and also with Lan's great-grandchildren, Zoe and Maisie, as well as with those yet to come. While we mourn Lan's death, we've joined together to celebrate her life, to speak words of consolation and of thanksgiving for having been blessed by it. For each of us has been enriched in some way and in many ways through having known Lan. And the child asked, "Tell me of life," and the sage answered, "Life, my child, is a mystery. We do not ask to be born, nor do we even understand the meaning of birth, of creation. We grow and we experience life's pleasures and pains. We love, and slowly, oh so slowly, we come to realize that we have become, that we are. At that moment, we humble ourselves before the mystery of life and quietly say, though I knew not, I have been granted the most precious gift of all, the gift of life." And the child asked, "Tell me of death." And the sage answered, "Death, my child, is a mystery. It is the inevitable return of the gift of life, the gift which came free to us. We live as the trustee of that mysterious being, of that unexplainable becoming. Yes, you and I are but the trustees of life. We nurture it, we delight in it, we give of it to others, and at the appointed time, we sadly, yet with pride, return it from whence it came. The beauty, my child, is that what we are, what we have become, remains long after the gift has been returned. It remains as a precious keepsake with our loved ones who live on." Kohelet wrote, "The eye never has its fill of seeing. God, be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this moment. Be near to them when light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until the time of healing. We now turn to our sacred scriptures for consolation and words of comfort.
Psalm 121. I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come? My help comes from Adonai, the maker of heaven and earth.
השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמוך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה
We join together in the words of Psalm 23, which remind us that on life's path, we are never alone. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood where we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. Adonai, you redeem the souls of your servants and none who trust in you shall be desolate.
Beginning of November, when I was visiting Lan, we were talking music, one of the many topics that we would often talk about in my visits. And she started thinking of songs that were meaningful to her and powerful to her. And one that we ended up singing together was Eli Eli, which was made even more special because that night we were commemorating Kristallnacht at Washington Hebrew. So we will sing Eli Eli now. I'd like to invite members of Kol Rina. I know a number of you are here. If you'd like to join me here on the bima, please do. And if you are moved to join us, I invite you as well to join in Eli Eli from your seats if you are moved to join with us. And Lan was a member of Kol Rina for many years.
Eli, שלא ייגמר לעולם, החול והים, רשרוש המים, ורק השמיים, תפילת האדם, החול והים, רשרוש המים, ורק השמיים, תפילת האדם. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
In the book of Proverbs, we find a passage that could have easily been inspired by Lan. Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, a good wife, who can find? Her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and nothing shall he lack. She renders him good and not evil all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She is robed in strength and dignity, and cheerfully faces whatever may come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She tends to the affairs of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her, her husband too, and praises her. Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Place before her the fruit of her hands, Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. So we have come here today to speak praise for the life and deeds of Lancia Swerdloff and to offer comfort to one another. Lan was the perfect person to welcome people into their journey at Washington Hebrew Congregation with her signature warmth, kindness, and that twinkle in her eyes. I will always cherish the sacred time we shared and spent together over the years that we worked together. And after her many years of singing with Kol Rina at our annual Kristallnacht service, hearing stories shared by survivors over those many years, she decided it was time to break her silence and share her story privately, not publicly, because she was very clear that her life should be about living, about celebration, about making something beautiful, about bringing more beauty into the world, which she did with love each and every day. It is related that the people of Rome spoke of Michelangelo as the man with four souls because he excelled in architecture, sculpture, painting, and poetry. His skill had produced many of the city's beautiful buildings and statues. And when Michelangelo was on his deathbed, a group of friends gathered at his bedside, and one who was anticipating his grief asked, "Michelangelo, how will Rome get along without you?" And with a weak wave of his hand toward the open window and the city beyond, filled with creations of his genius, Michelangelo answered, "Rome will never be without me." In the same way, we can say that we too will not be without Lancia Swerdloff, for everyone present and countless others have been touched by the beauty and warmth that Lan brought into our world and the sense of the sacred that she brought to each interaction with another human being. And we take comfort from those lasting images that are etched in the hearts and memories of all those who loved her as we join together today to celebrate her life with her family. And so we're going to hear from several family members. And before we do, we're going to hear as well from Cantor Susan Bortnick, who, as we all could claim, and there are others here from Washington Hebrew who worked side by side with Lan for many years. We all felt like we were her favorite. But she had family too, right? But she had a special connection. There is something about the music of the soul and in the music that they shared and the love that they shared and that went beyond Susan, but to her family as well. She's going to share some of her reflections at this time.
Lancia Swerdloff was born in Otynia, Poland in 1938, the youngest of four girls. She was a Holocaust survivor, as her mother hid her under a bed from the Gestapo when she was 2 years old. The family maid, Lucia, took her to her house and took care of her until she was roughly 4 or 5. Lan's cousins, Sally and Monia, came from Romania to find her and bring her back to the family when it was safe. And when she was 7, her cousin Sally's husband, David, sent a picture to the Daily Forward in New York, where the Schwartz family saw the picture and sponsored Lan to come to the United States in 1945. When she arrived in the United States, she was adopted by Harry and Pauline Bernholtz. Lan grew up in Brooklyn and graduated from Franklin Lane High School in 1956, and it was here that she met the love of her life and husband of 63 years, Mel. Lan and Mel married in 1959 at the President's Chateau in Brooklyn. They had their first child in 1961 and moved to Maryland in 1962 shortly thereafter, where their second daughter, Amy, was born in 1964. While raising her family, Lan worked as an assistant to the vice president at Market Tire before finding her dream job at Washington Hebrew Congregation as the membership coordinator, where she worked for 25 years and was an active member of Kol Rina until she retired in 2011. Lan was a people person and truly loved helping people. She touched many lives at Market Tire and Washington Hebrew Congregation. And as she spoke to me of both of these positions in the last weeks, there was a shine and a glow that came forward because she knew she had truly helped others. I'll never forget the day when she came into my office soon after starting at Washington Hebrew and told me she had just met a very cute young man, a David Bortnick, who had come in to get high holiday tickets. It was in 2001, August, September. She was thrilled when I later married him. And with each arrival of my children, I can only imagine what it was like for her own grandchildren. But with each arrival of my children, she was not only very happy with each child, but she knew the years they were married because she associated them with different surgeries she had. So even a few weeks ago, she was like, and she was born in this date, right? It was very cute. Lan had many friends, was a master knitter, as is represented in the front row with the scarves. She made award-winning latkes, which I understand have been passed on, was an expert mahjong player, and was an active day trader. She loved playing the stock market and was good at it. She also loved to sing and play piano. There was always a song flowing out of Lan, and these past few months, as I have visited her, we have sung. And we've sung many of her favorites. She lamented that her voice was not what it used to be. There were surgeries and other health reasons way back that made her end up having to stop singing well before she really wanted to. There were still many songs in her heart, but she was singing to the very end, even if it wasn't the voice that she wished for. And she lamented having to stop Kolrina many years ago. What she loved most was her family. Whether it was cooking for the high holidays, knitting a scarf, or finding the perfect gift, Lan put a tremendous amount of love and thought into everything she did. Lan always had a glow about her and shared her beautiful smile with the world. When she spoke of her family, especially, she glowed even brighter, and that smile was even wider. And she treasured each of you. And she spoke of pride when she spoke of you, which she did often. Never too often, but always often. And you made her so happy. So happy. On a personal note, Lan did not speak of her early childhood experience, as you've already heard. So when I asked her in early 2020 if my daughter could interview her as a school project, I was truly touched that Lan agreed. Nomi had to interview someone who had gone through a traumatic experience, some kind of trial. So in February of 2020, Nomi and I made our way to Lan and Mills and spent about 2 hours with Lan. Nomi took notes and I recorded Lan's story, which I only recently found out is really the only recording that we have of Lan's story. And I still know where it is. So I will be sharing that with the family later today. It was a remarkable day. We talked, we laughed, we cried, we played the piano, we sang. It was all you could wish for any kind of entertainment and fun and family gathering. My daughter then turned Lan's story into a children's book, which after it was graded, she gifted to Lan. It was a day that both Nomi and I treasure. As we go forward from today, may Lan's memory always be a blessing for all of us. May the thought of her always bring a smile to our faces and warmth to our hearts, especially on a day like today when the outside is trying to work against us. And may we live as she lived, knowing that each day was a gift.
We are going to hear from several family members, and first I'd like to invite forward Lan's granddaughter, Alexa, who's going to speak for all of the family.
Thank you all for being here to celebrate the beautiful life of our beautiful mother and Nana, who lived up to the beauty of her name, Lancia. I want to start off by introducing us, the dividends. Nana's dividends, as she called us, were her biggest accomplishment and what mattered to her most. She called us her dividends because we are the parts of Nana and Papa that will continue their legacy. We are her two daughters, Elaine and Amy, their husbands, Alan and Frank, her very first grandchild, Ashley, as well as her first and only grandson, Scott, his wife, Sandra, myself, Alexa, my husband, Colin, her fourth grandchild, Haley, and her husband, Zach, her fifth grandchild, Danny, and her husband, Zach, and her two great-granddaughters, Zoe and Macy. Together, the 15 of us were Nana's pride and joy, and I can't wait to share some of the wonderful memories we had with her. But perhaps the most important person in all of this, though, is the other half of what makes us all dividends. Her husband, our dad and Papa, Mel. Mel Darling, as Nana called him, which quickly stuck with us as children, and now the name we call him too. I'm Mel Darling. Nana and Papa were high school sweethearts and were married for 64 years. They had and continue to have the greatest love of all time, and us dividends look up to love like that. We all know about Nana's childhood and the unspeakable things she went through at a young age. And rather, the bitterness towards what happened to her, she gave back and told her story to children and college students. So it's time to move on and celebrate her unbelievable life, a life that was filled with love for her family and friends and passion for her career. I think we can all agree we could go on for days and days talking about Nana, but here are just a few highlights. As many of you may know, very few days went by without Nana pulling you aside and gifting you a handmade scarf. It didn't matter the occasion, you could always find her saying, "Oh, I need to knit them a scarf or a blanket or a headband or something," or even just pull one out of nowhere. Now they are wrapped around us and will forever provide us the warmth we miss from her hugs and kisses. She loved stocks. It didn't matter if it was Amazon, IBM, or other Fortune 100 companies. You better believe Nana was joining those quarterly earnings calls to get the inside scoop. She was good at day trading and made sure to teach us how to keep track of it all. And speaking of teaching us things, she would teach us new vocabulary when we were little, taught us all how to play Rummy Cube over the past few years, and passed down many beautiful traditions, specifically how to make her matzo ball soup and her famous potato latkes, literally famous, as she won a contest for best latke judged by cookbook maven Joe Nathan. And speaking of food, she always had Dove chocolates and nips in her purse without fail. On our birthdays, she would take each of us shopping, so we would really experience our birthdays rather than just get a birthday present. And she had the most impeccable sense of style and ability to find the best deals. She told us stories about what she loved about her young adult life, like dressing up and going into work and singing in the synagogue choir. We all know she had the most beautiful voice. She was always singing and dancing no matter where she was, and you can just tell she enjoyed life through those mediums of art. Her food and water were never hot enough. And if she had food and water in front of her and it wasn't the right temperature, someone would always offer to heat it, to which she would respond, "Oh, how did you know?" She was very into talking about the important things like Virgin River and Lucifer, and had a pretty dirty sense of humor, even in the last days. Some of our favorite memories from our childhood involve us racing Nana up Snowpine Way and going to work with her at Washington Hebrew to use her computer and write silly stories. Nana also had the absolute best memory. She could tell you about something that happened before we were even born and point to the exact year it happened. It was unbelievable. She forgave everyone and everything. Nana loved God and being Jewish. She took her prayers seriously, and during the holidays, she would be the one to pray for us and instill in all of us the importance of family and being good to each other. She was the strongest person we've ever known, and she loved her family fiercely, and everyone loved her back. I am sad she won't get to meet her newest dividends, but I find comfort in knowing she got to spend so much time with Zoe and Macy, even in her final days. We will keep her traditions alive by making her famous latkes and matzo ball soup, teaching our children about her and the incredible life she lived, and telling dirty jokes whenever we can slip it in. That one's for you, Nana. Nana, thank you for showing us how to really live life to the fullest. We are at peace knowing that you are at peace. Your dividends have you covered down here.
So next, we are going to hear from each of her sons-in-law. Frank will speak first, speaking for her daughters and sons-in-law, and then Alan will speak, sharing some words for a close family friend.
Good afternoon, I'm Frank, and Lan was my mother-in-law. Thank you all for being here today. The first time I met Mom was on a Sunday evening in the fall 37 years ago when I picked up Amy on our first date. I was 24, living in my mother's unfinished basement, and Amy was living in a beautiful home in Potomac. When I rang the doorbell, she opened the door and greeted me so warmly. I remember thinking, enjoy this date because there's no way this woman's going to let you date her daughter very long. Excuse me. Mom battled cancer courageously the last 5 years. She was so strong. Dad, Amy, and Elaine did an amazing job taking care of her. Although the last few months were especially tough, it was a gift spending so much time with her. Recently, Mom told me how she was so happy the day I started calling her Mom. Mom was a remarkable woman, having overcome so much adversity and tragedy early in her life. It was only recently she revealed the details of her childhood, losing her parents, 3 sisters in the Holocaust, and being hid by her mother and taken by the housekeeper to escape the Gestapo. Mom could have been bitter, but she was the complete opposite. She had a beautiful soul and sunny disposition. Grateful for each day and grateful for all that she had. She loved life, never taking it for granted. Mom was a Renaissance woman, having 2 careers, but finished it with her dream job at Washington Hebrew Congregation, as you all heard today, as a membership coordinator. She spoke lovingly of all of her colleagues, especially the clergy. She loved to sing in the choir and was so proud when we came to watch her on high holidays. Mom had so many interests, ranging from great music, stock market, and politics. She was an expert knitter, creating these beautiful scarves and hats to keep us warm and all of our friends warm. She also had tremendous style and grace. She was a class act. She was loved by so many because she exuded love to all that came in contact with her. I love so many things about her. I would love to share a few with you today. I loved how she would always greet you warmly and lovingly. She lit up every room she entered with energy and affectionate smile. She was smart, quick-witted, and had a wonderful sense of humor. I told her that I was taking off so much work to visit her and that I might have to fire myself. And she thought that was really funny and proceeded to ask me on a regular basis, have you fired yourself yet? I loved when she would say the prayers before the holiday dinner. It was very dramatic. She would light the candles, close her eyes, and we would all watch attentively, and she would finish and look at us and smile and say lovingly, good yunt. I loved how she always tried to buy me the perfect shirt or sweater for Hanukkah, my birthday, or Father's Day. She was so thoughtful. I loved how she would talk about hot stock. It was definitely going up. She was an amazing day trader. I loved her beautiful voice and how classical music was always playing in her home. I loved playing Rummy Cube with her. She was sly and she was an excellent player. I loved watching her enjoy good food and commenting on how good it was. And she had things, as my daughter said, Alexa said, she had to have things a certain way, like her coffee. But she had high standards. I loved how she would light up when she was with her grandchildren and great grandchildren. And I loved how she was always present and gave you her full attention. I loved what we called her Jewish goodbyes. Whenever we'd all get together, it was time to leave a function. Dad would tell her, Lan, start saying goodbye. But that was when Mom started figuring out who she hadn't spent enough time with yet. And usually 30 to 45 minutes later, Dad would say, Lan, it's a long walk home. I loved how much she loved Dad and how much he loved her. Theirs was a beautiful love story, and one we should all admire. I loved how proud she was of her family and always felt her love. We were so lucky to have her for so many years. She was truly a gift from God. Thank you.
This is a letter from one of their close friends, probably one of their oldest close friends. Ira and I first met Lan and Mel when we moved to Powdermill Village in 1963. Starting in a new area, meeting Mel and Lan, who also had two young daughters, was wonderful for us, and we bonded quickly. Over the years, we socialized and became very good friends. Lan was one of my first patients when I opened my private practice. Years passed and our lives changed, but our friendship continued. If Lan thought otherwise, that our relationship was drifting, she would let us know. Friends and friendship were extremely important to Lan. The last 5.5 years, Lan fought a terrible disease with grace and dignity. She never lost her sense of humor and her compassion for others, always asking how I was doing and how my girls were getting along. In Yiddish, there are two words that best describe the character of a person and how one lived each day. Lancia was a mensch, a good person with high moral values. The second word is a utuna shema, a person with good heart and soul. These two words embody the goodness of Lancia. Mel, I want to say to you what I've learned over the past 10 years that Myra passed away. That is, your life will never be the same. You lost the love of your life. Best friend and your compass. One thing that you will never lose is your memories. I can assure you that when you think of Lan, and you will often, over time, a smile will come to your lips before a tear to your eyes. The memories will live with you and your family forever. Love, Irv.
At this time, we're going to hear from Lan's granddaughter, Danny, who's going to share a poem that she wrote.
I'm the only one who has stepped on this step, the shortest. There's a little step behind here. Hi, I'm Danny. I'm Lan and Mel's youngest grandchild. In 2018, my college poetry professor gave us a prompt to write in the voice of a family member. This is titled Survivor. I won't write because it's too hard to share. I only share, but it's still heavy to talk about. No one understands, as no one can. I was just a little girl, but I'm here today. I hid, It was part of my life, hiding that is. I cried. I shook, scared for my life. That doghouse outside was my spot when it rained, when it was cold, even when it was the dog's place too. I was alone and scared. My mother was beautiful, but I don't speak of her. My youngest grandchild, she wishes she knew more. Like how it felt, or what the last things my family said to me. I was young, but old enough to remember. The feeling of stillness in between the springs and mattress, holding my breath so the Gestapo didn't hear. I became an expert hider. Being small was an advantage. But my parents and siblings, they weren't small enough. I became a skilled actress, wore the cross around my neck, it was believable. I thanked my housekeeper, she loved me like her own. I try not to think about those days, but they got me where I am today. My life is beautiful and I love endlessly. My handsome husband, our two gorgeous girls and their sweet lovers. Our lovely 5 grandchildren. Oh, life is beautiful. I don't wonder what ifs, because what happens, happens. I am strong and I wear my star proud. Hiding is no longer part of my life. I face it all head on, like the cancer we thought would kill me in July. I'm here, I'm alive. I turn 80 in 6 days. My 5th treatment of chemo is in 4. The life I live is the life I love. Always something new to look forward to. And my Nana, she certainly loved life, and she really lived it to the fullest. Thank you.
We know that these are only but a few of the many memories of the love that was shared that we will continue to share with one another in the days and weeks to come. You who heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds, grant comfort and consolation to these mourners as they face their grief. Fill their lives with the acts of loving kindness and truth, which serve as the genuine memorial to our dear land. The deep bond of love will remain unbroken. Amen. We take a moment now to collect our own thoughts and memories, to hold Lan, to hold her family in our hearts, as we take a moment for our personal and private prayers. As we do so, we think about the way in which each person is like a mosaic of all the different moments and interactions, the relationships shared with others. We each hold pieces of Lan's mosaic. Certainly her family carries the majority of those, but we have pieces as well to share and to add and to hear their stories. And so in the days and weeks ahead, it becomes that much more important for us to do that sharing, to share those small pieces, those moments of kindness, of warmth, of laughter, of love, because in each of those moments of sharing, we bring a little bit of healing. We ensure that Lan's memory will always be a blessing. As we say, Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be a blessing. We take a few moments now for our personal and private prayers. At the conclusion of our service, in a few moments, we will proceed together to participate and to support her family in the act of burial. The family will be sitting Shiva at Amy and Frank's home, 19401 Brookville Lakes Court in Brookville, Maryland, with the reception beginning at 4 p.m. and a Shiva service taking place at 7 p.m. And there are slips of paper with the address on your way out of the chapel. The psalmist has written, "Weeping may tarry into the night, but joy comes in the morning." El Malay Rachamim, O God, full of compassion, please send your comfort to those who grieve. Help them to dispel the sadness that accompanies the pain of loss and to find joy in the precious memories of Lancia Swerdloff. May your love inspire them to focus on the love they had for Lan and that Lan had for them. Help them to face the future with courage, to treasure Lan's wonderful legacy. Sustain us in our faith, O God, even in this troubling time, as you have sustained our people in times of trouble and sorrow throughout the generations. Blessed are you, Adonai, who provides comfort to the brokenhearted. We rise now for El Malay Rachamim.
I chant El Malay Rachamim. It was important to Lan that both her birth parents and her adoptive parents be present in her name. So you will hear her complete Hebrew name of Leah Bat Yitzhak Be'elka Ve'Hershel.
El Malay Rachamim Shochin Bamromim Metzeh Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina Im Kedoshim U'Torim Kezohar Harakiyam Asirim Et Nishmat Leah Bat Yitzchak Be'elka Ve'Hershel Ve'Pua Shacha Le'olama Al Harachamim Yastireha B'Seter Knafav Le'olamim B'Tzror Chayim Et Nishmata Adonai Nachalata Shalom Mishkaba. Amen.
God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one, Lancia Swerdloff, who has gone into eternity, find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold her close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May she find a home with you, and may she rest in peace. Together we say, Amen.